What's going on, guys? Welcome to Kicking Balls FC. And first and foremost, I have to say that we finally made it, guys. We finally made it to the World Cup. Finally, after 8 grueling years and then over 5 years of that nightmare scenario that happened in Cuba, we exercise those demons once and for all. So let's get that out of the way. You know, it's just amazing that we finally get back and that this generation of US players actually have an opportunity to do something special in the World Cup this upcoming November. And yes, we're going to talk about the result. We're going to talk about how the US played. Could have been better. Sure, it could have been better. And and you kind of have to fault the players right here because players were the players that a lot of us wanted Greg to play for, right? And unfortunately, it didn't go this way. And for the first half, it almost felt like we were playing like a friendly. So unfortunately, the United States couldn't get the first win in their history in Costa Rica. They lost 2-0 based on errors that Stefan made, especially on set pieces, in which I thought we were very good at set pieces, but um, it looked a little tiring to nonetheless. But overall, I think that the general thing is that could have they done better? Sure. Did we want to win? Did we want to end in a high note? Yeah. But again, you can't take away everything that the US did. The US did everything possible to try to win this game. If you see that game on repeat, you notice that the only reason why that Costa Rica won that game is because of one guy, Keylor Navas, man. Keylor Navas is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, right? And that's the only reason why they were in that game. They actually took their chances. And yes, we lost against a Costa Rican B team, but at the same time, I think the players acknowledge they could have done better. They wanted to end on a high note. It was kind of like a weird kind of sensation. But at the end of the day, you made it to the World Cup. That's the most important objective. And yes, I know being third place isn't a good thing. Nobody wants to go in third place, right? But at the end, it didn't change what pot we were. We would still be in pot two, and Canada lost against Panama. This is actually Canada's worst window that they had. 2 losses and just 1 win. So I can only imagine if we didn't win that game against Mexico. We didn't win that game against Costa Rica just by destroying them. So overall, the standings, it is what they say. So Canada wins the Ocho, the one and only Ocho that will ever be, right? With 28 points. Mexico was second place with 28 points as well, but it's based on goal differential. The US basically went, did what they needed to do. I think they just took care of business against Panama because, a 6 goal that Costa Rica wanted to do, it wasn't going to happen. And especially that Costa Rica rested a lot of their starters, right? So now we can focus on the real work. We can focus on what the US needs to do. And I think the most important thing is we need McKennie to be healthy. We need Aronson to be healthy. We need Des to be healthy. We need Josh Sargent to start producing more. We need a striker, guys. That's the most important position that we haven't figured out yet. And that kind of sucks because every other team has their own striker. Like, for example, Canada has, Jonathan David. They have Cal Aaron. And then Mexico has Jimenez, even though he's not doing so good. And then a couple other ones. Um, but we need a striker. I just hope that that striker comes in uh, roaring goals this upcoming, rest of the year because we have about 7 months until Qatar in November. So you better believe that I'll be watching those games, and hopefully, maybe I'll be streaming those games as well. And probably not like this. I'll probably have it like showing with my family or friends that are coming over, and then it's gonna be all unfiltered. I will say this because there's gonna be high emotions, but other than that, so congratulations to the United States, to Mexico, and to Canada for becoming our CONCACAF representatives for this World Cup. I will be pulling up for Canada as well. And like I said, I'm a man of my word. I will purchase a Canadian jersey, especially when that jersey design for the World Cup is up. I will get it. Uh, Costa Rica, I hope, wish you the best of luck. You guys should be able to take care of business against New Zealand. No disrespect to New Zealand. I just think that Costa Rica is really good. Just give me 1 sec, guys. I just have to get this out of the way. Sorry about that. So anyway, what I was talking about. So I hope Costa Rica, represents us, so we can get four Concacaf nations. The last time we had four Concacaf nations, it actually went really well, like from Brazil. So I will be pulling for the Concacaf nations. Will I be pulling for El Tri? Well, that depends. It depends how I feel in that mood, right? So now that we figured out, congratulations to the United States. Now we have to kind of figure out what happened to the other confederations as well. So the first things first, right? What we have to understand now is what happened to the African World Cup qualifying, right? There was a lot of drama happening here, and we're gonna get into it right now. So I wanted to do it yesterday, but I was just so busy yesterday that I couldn't do it. So I was able to only watch the USA game through my phone, and I was also helping my wife on something. But anyway, so Nigeria versus Ghana. Ghana is going to the World Cup, right? Senegal beats Egypt in the most weirdest way possible. If you know what I'm talking about, it's all those laser pointers. I don't know how in the heck. I thought CONCACAF was bad. Look, I thought CONCACAF was bad with all those laser pointers that were happening like in Mexico and in other places. But this one was like overkill. So it almost looked like a rave party going on. So I don't know if the FIFA is going to review that or sanction, Egypt or no Senegal for that, but Senegal is the African champions, so they're going to be one of those teams that you have to kind of look out for. Algeria versus Cameroon. Cameroon wins, so they're going to go to the World Cup. Morocco beats the Congo, which was pretty soundly, and then Tunisia versus Mali. So Tunisia is going into the World Cup, right? Okay, so now we got that out of the way. So now let's look at the UEFA, right? So the UEFA, the Europe World Cup qualifiers. You notice that Portugal beat North Macedonia, and then Poland beat Sweden, right? And there's still another game to be played for the European qualifier, but it's probably going to happen in June. And the OFC is the winner of that is actually New Zealand. So I'm actually going to be putting in how everything is set up right now for the pots. So it's pot one, pot two, pot three, and pot four, right? So very interesting scenarios that we're going to be seeing right now. So just give me 1 sec. I'm just going to start sharing what are the teams that I think maybe suits the US in general? How could they maybe make a run in the World Cup? It all depends on the draw. It depends on the draw. If it's a favorable draw, then maybe we have a chance, because it all depends. Because if it's the group of death again, oh may may God have mercy on our souls. All right, so like I said, the last game for the US didn't have that many implications, right? We were still going to go to the World Cup. It would have had to take a catastrophic failure for the US, because the worst they could have done is actually go to the playoff against New Zealand, which I think they could have won that game as well. But let's get that out of the way. Let's just start preparing friendlies right now so we can get ready for that World Cup. So For pot one, we have Qatar, we have Brazil. Let me see if I can get that a little bigger. Let me see if I can get that bigger, guys. Yeah, there we go. All right, so it looks better. So for pot one, we have Qatar, Brazil, Belgium, France, Argentina, England, Spain, and Portugal. So those are the ones that are going to be the head of the group. So when the draw happens tomorrow, it all depends on who gets drawn into who, right? Look at pot two. That's where the US is. So the teams that are in pot two, we don't have to worry about those teams. We might meet them maybe in the round of 16, bear in mind. So it's Mexico, Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, Uruguay, Switzerland, USA, and then Croatia. So we don't have to worry about Germany, Denmark, Netherlands, Uruguay, Switzerland, or Croatia, which is really, really nice. Those are some powerful teams, guys. This is not going to be easy, especially for I really it's going to be hard for those teams in pot 3 and pot 4 because pot 2 looks amazing. Like I couldn't imagine if none of those teams were in pot 2, we would have a major issue right now. But there it is. There's what the United States is. So um, after the first set of draws, the second draw is we're going to basically figure out who we're going to be playing against in the head of the group. The teams we want to avoid, guys. We cannot be drawn against Brazil. We cannot be drawn against France. And we definitely should not be drawn against Argentina. Those three teams are the teams that I'm very, very worried about, especially for this US side, right? So, what I would say is that um, we have to pray for the soccer gods or devil or any type of celestial soccer beings that could give us maybe a foothold on this draw. I just hope so, right? So, in my opinion, everyone wants Qatar, right? But which I'm not too sure about. Yeah, we beat them. We did beat them in the Gold Cup with a C squad, right? But they are the Asian champions for a reason, and they have played in Copa America, so they do have, a couple of players there, and they're playing at home. When anytime you play against the home country, it's always going to be a difficult side. So, I wouldn't, I don't know if I would um, be happy if the United States plays Qatar because we already know that if we play away, especially if we're not the home team, we do pretty bad. But everyone's going to be the away team with the exception of Qatar. So Brazil, like I said, avoid them. Belgium, Belgium is an interesting choice because of let's say if we draw against Belgium, they are kind of ending their golden generation. It's basically if they don't win a championship now, they're never going to win a championship. That's just the reality at the moment. So, uh, I think we have our chances. I think if we play the same type of game we did in 2014, in which if they have most of the ball and we hit them in transition, I think we have an opportunity as well. And especially Belgium, their players are aging. Like I said, the golden generation is kind of leaving there. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. France, again, there are the world champions, but then again, I will add this: France are the world champions. Look at the past world champions for the past three World Cups that have played in group stage. They have been eliminated in group stage. Going back to Italy, when they won the World Cup in 2006, they got out of the group stage in 2010. Spain won the World Cup in 2010, didn't get out of the group stage in 2014. And then Germany won the World Cup in 2014, and then they get knocked out of the group stage in 2018. So is France destined to continue that curse of the world champions? They do look indestructible, those French national team players. But in the World Cup, anything could happen. Maybe because if you in 100, 99 out of 100, you lose that game. But there's that one game that one game when you play for everything, you might have a chance. Argentina, ooh, I don't know about Argentina. They are just playing just some beautiful, beautiful football, especially how Messi was playing. And this is Messi's last World Cup, so it all depends. Can you imagine if the final would be, you know, Argentina versus Portugal? Ooh, the implications there. Oh, that would be nice. But England was a fascinating choice. That would be basically a rematch of the World Cup that happened in 2010, which we drew 1-1, or when we won for the first time in 1950, which is the most one of the most famous upsets in World Cup history, right? The next one is Spain. Spain is a good team, right? But they're beatable. I will say they are beatable, but we have to be very careful, especially with Pedro, such a sensational talent. And then Portugal, we already know about Portugal. They are a team of, they're aging a little bit, but I think if you can try to contain Cristiano Ronaldo, just like they contain him in Manchester and United, I think you're going to be fine. So, um, none of those top teams, all those top teams in the pot one, with the exception of Qatar, but I still think Qatar is still a tough team, especially being the host nation. None of them are easy, right? None of them are easy to contend. So I just hope we don't get, the Brazil, the Argentina, or France. I think I'll be okay with Belgium, England, Spain, Portugal, or Qatar. So any of those ones, I think the US has a good chance to at least, maybe get a draw as the minimal. Pot two, I'm not going to talk about that since the US is already in pot two. Look at pot three. So pot three has Senegal, Iran, Japan, Morocco, Serbia, Poland, South Korea, and Tunisia, right? So let's go down the list of how I see this. So Senegal, we already know they are the African champions. That's the one team you want to avoid, right? Uh, that team is just so good, and they have a lot of talent in that squad. So um, I would try to avoid Senegal. Uh, the next one is Iran. I would like to play Iran. Actually, I would like to maybe do a little revenge from 1998. That would be pretty cool. But then I would also think about the political statements between both nations. I don't know, but that would be pretty cool. I think, in my opinion. But they do have a couple of cool players in Iran. Japan, that would be actually a pretty good matchup, I would think. They are a very technical team, to say the least. But to play against Japan, that would be pretty fun. And I would hope they would do an anime of it, especially since I'm an anime fan. Let's hope that, the Captain Tsubasa series maybe do something like that. So that would be pretty cool. And I hope they make like Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, Ricardo Pepi, Gio into like an anime character. That would be pretty cool. I think they would do it. Morocco, Morocco is, you know what? I'm not too familiar with Morocco, but I think Morocco would be okay. It would be a good matchup. I wouldn't, you know, be bothered by it. Serbia, anytime you play against these Eastern European countries, they're always tough. But the US did manage to almost win against Slovenia, in which we should have won. That freaking ref that blew the call. I'm sorry about that, Moedu. You deserve to get that goal. Poland, we don't have fond memories of Poland, guys. Every time the US plays against Poland, especially in international tournaments, it does not go well. With the exception that happened, I think, in the U20s, I believe, when I think we beat them like 7-1 or 6-1 or something. But that was in the U20s, like a long time ago, and they do have uh Lewandowski, and that guy's scary. So if you can kind of manage him, I think you'll be fine. But Poland is a good team. South Korea, what can I say about South Korea? They have Son. He's a very good player for the Tottenham Hotspur. But I would try to play South Korea again. I think we would love to play against South Korea, especially trying to get that win um, out of the way, like not tie against them like we did in South Korea, Japan 2002. And then Tunisia, again, one of those other teams that I think are manageable for the US. So the teams that I would avoid for pot 3 would be Senegal, Poland, and maybe Serbia. I'm kind of mm, I'm thinking Serbia because we don't do good against Eastern European countries for whatever reason or another. If you look at our record is not that good. So hopefully, but we'll see, we'll see because they're okay now. Pot 4. Now this is where things get interesting, right? So it says on the rules that if you get a team from pot 4, they cannot be from the same confederation, right? So you can take away Canada. We cannot have Canada in our group. So don't worry about Canada. So the rest of the teams are Cameroon, Ecuador, Saudi Arabia, Ghana, and then the last 3 positions of the intercontinental playoff. So the first one is it's either going to be Australia, the UAE, or Peru. So any of those 3 are going to be in that slot. The second playoff is um, New Zealand versus Costa Rica. So the same thing applies. If Costa Rica wins that intercontinental playoff, they cannot be drawn with the US or Mexico. They two of the same confederations, with the exception of Europe, cannot be in the same group, right? But if New Zealand somehow pulls away the win, then they could be in that group, right? And then the Euro playoff is between Scotland, Wales, and Ukraine. So any of those teams will be in that. So what teams would I want to avoid? I would say Ecuador. I would try to avoid them because any type of CONMEBOL, you know, uh, I guess teams they do really well against the US. But then I do remember that we did beat them in Copa America and home soil. So I wouldn't be too worried about Ecuador as long as we have a good game plan, right? Ghana, it has to be right. It's in the stars, man. I feel if we get Ghana again, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do in that point. If it's Ghana again, like FIFA has something against the US and Ghana for whatever reason. So it'll be Ghana part 4. Um, So, Saudi Arabia wouldn't be a bad match, I think. I think we could take those guys. Um, the Intercontinental Playoff, if it's between Peru, Australia, or the UAE, I think those ones are okay. I think we wouldn't have a problem. They would be tricky opponents for sure. The other one is only if New Zealand were in beats Costa Rica, then sure. I think New Zealand wouldn't be a bad choice, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that Costa Rica is gonna win. Um, so it's so already Canada and Costa Rica, you can take those off, and we just have to focus on the other ones. And then the European playoff would be Ukraine, Wales, or Scotland. So I would not mind Scotland. Ukraine, it all depends of how they play, because I really hope that the war is over by then and they could get to playing football. And I don't know if they will be playing football because none of the players are playing. Everything canceled in Ukraine. They're not playing any soccer, and the ones that are playing soccer are playing abroad, but most of their team are domestic based. So it's a tricky situation. I don't know. So I don't know. What did you guys think is the best or worst case scenario of a draw? I think the best case scenario, from in my opinion, would be Qatar. then it would be us, then it would be Tunisia, and it's either going to be Saudi Arabia, New Zealand, Ukraine, Wales, or Scotland. Any of those ones, I think I think will be pretty okay. But something tells me that because of the implications of that playoff spot between Costa Rica and New Zealand, they're gonna try their best to that one. Let's just assume that it's not gonna go the US's way, regardless, because I this is like the weirdest draw ever. We never had a draw like this. Usually, we would know who's already qualified and what to expect, but because of this war and because of all these other things that are happening, it's hard to tell. And I kind of wish they thought of it beforehand. I think that the draw should have happened probably until June, but then at the same time, it would be a lot of logistical problems because between now and then, I think there's a rule that says that you cannot play against teams that you're drawn in. So if you already signed up for that friendly, um, it means that you kind of have to change your plans. You have to actually change that opponent. So yeah, so my best case scenario would be Qatar, us, Tunisia, and probably that European playoff spot. It could be between the three teams between Scotland, Ukraine, or Wales. I think that would be the best case scenario. Or Saudi Arabia. I think that would be a pretty good um, you know, it would be a pretty good draw. Um the worst case scenario, this is the worst case, it would be probably between Brazil, Argentina, or France, and then the US. Then we have Senegal, and then we have Ecuador. I think that would be the worst case scenario right there. So, but then again, you can't have two of the same confederation. So that means that if we do get Brazil or Argentina, then we cannot get Ecuador. So that would mean that we have to kind of switch it around. So it's really strange. Like I said, like it's really strange. It's really strange that we do not know the last three spots of the World Cup. So I feel like FIFA is gonna do a lot of FIFA things, trying to make sure that like the US and Mexico, we will not, if we get that intercontinental playoff between New Zealand and Costa Rica, just get that out of the way. They're not going to put it in our group. It's not going to happen. So it's going to be the other playoffs that are going to happen. So um we'll see what happens because it will be a very interesting draw. But again, we're excited. Everyone's excited. The whole U.S. soccer community is excited to know who our opponents are going to be, and that's kind of draw a blueprint of how do we feel about the draw, and what are our realistic expectations going forward with this group, right? Because depending on the draw, it could basically mean saying, well, it's gonna be the group of death. That means the best way is just to survive the group of death, and if we make it to the round of 16, then that's good enough. But if we have a manageable group, like say, for example, like the way we had a very good group in South Africa when we had England, Algeria, Slovenia, oh, we had every opportunity, and I mean every opportunity to make it to the semifinal. I have every I have every ounce of confidence that I think we could have gone to the semifinal at least the minimal. Because if you think about it, when we were in 2010, we were a better team than Ghana, but because Bob Bradley's preference of Ricardo Clark in that defense, it all went downhill, and we gave up a goal, right? Because we thought we ended giving up early goals after the Algeria game, but our defense kind of fell asleep. And then we didn't make the we didn't get that killer bite because I think we had many chances that second half against Ghana to just put the game away, but it wasn't meant to be. So I think I think the round of 16 or quarterfinals would be a very good realistic expectation for this young group, but they are so young, And I know they don't like to be labeled that, but they are. None of them have World Cup experience. And if, let's say, DeAndre Yedlin doesn't go to Qatar, basically nobody in that group has World Cup experience. But sometimes that's good. Maybe when you don't have any expectations, that's when the big players come by, and then you know something special can happen. So we'll see. So what do you guys think? What did you guys think of the U.S. during this whole World Cup campaign? It was a roller coaster. It was up and down. It was very bittersweet, to say, a little buzzkill that they qualified the way they did. But overall, I think that the US has a very, very, special team going on forward. So I think they're going to use this opportunity to, get the players to get healthy on time. Like I said, Serginho Dest, Weston McKennie, Aronson, Turner, um, some others. Joe Scally actually couldn't come to camp because he was injured. So maybe he will have an opportunity there. And yeah, I think I'm just excited, guys. I'm just excited that we're finally back into the World Cup, that those demons of Trinidad and Tobago are done. They're over. We never have to talk about it anymore. We can now just focus on the World Cup going forward. So tomorrow is going to be the draw. It's going to happen at 8:30. It's going to start broadcasting at Pacific time. So 8:30 in Pacific time. I believe it's 12:30 in Eastern time, right? If I'm making that math right, or probably not, because it's 3 hours ahead. So it's 11:30. My bad. So we're gonna see what everyone's gonna be facing off. So, and I really hope, I do hope, I don't know. This is just me talking. I really hope that the US gets that Thanksgiving group game. So what I mean by that is, if the US is drawn either in group H or group G, which is kind of like the last groups, I believe, uh, chances are they're going to be playing on Thanksgiving Day. Now, what would you think about that? The United States playing a Thanksgiving World Cup group match. That would be pretty cool. I think that would be awesome. That would make headlines. So, you know, I think Thanksgiving football doesn't have a chance. Everyone, like, they're gonna say, if you are really American, cheer for this team, even if you don't know anything about soccer. You got to cheer for America's team. So that would be pretty cool if that happens. And if it doesn't, you know, it would have been a very wasted opportunity. But I have a feeling that FIFA might do that. I think they might want the U.S. to have a Thanksgiving World Cup match, and that would be pretty cool. Because imagine you're cutting your turkey and then you're watching the U.S. Group stage match on Thanksgiving. So that would be pretty cool. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining on the live stream. I just wanted to just show you my opinion on how the U.S. looked, and then also how you know how things are looking forward to now. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel on Kicking Balls FC. You can also reach me on Twitter as well. So make sure to follow me there. And also make sure to join me tomorrow. I'm going to be live streaming when the draw is happening, little by little. And then I'm going to give you my, uh, I guess, we're going to go down the list of how each team looks, but then especially focus on the US team. So that is going to be fun. I can't wait. I'm so excited that the US is finally back into the World Cup. We cannot say it more times than we should, but after missing that World Cup, that PTSD is over. Now we can just focus on the World Cup. So go USA. It's time to finally move forward. So all right, guys, let's hope that, cross your fingers, pray to the heavens, pray that we have a good draw tomorrow. All right. So, and make sure you have fun as well. All right. And I'll make sure you comment below. What do you think is the best group in the worst case scenario for the US. All right. So, all right, everyone. Good night. Stay awesome and see you tomorrow.